If I were to sum up this novel in one sentence, I'd probably say a university professor who ends up helping out at a clinic where abandoned dogs are put down, or in other words, killed. Have we left anything out? I don't think so. This is really a page turner, if I'm honest, even though it's infinitely sad, but you really want to read on and to find out what happens, right? Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of my new series Learning English by Reading Books. And in this episode we are staying in South Africa. We're merely moving from Johannesburg to Cape Town because the story of Coetzee's Disgrace begins in Cape Town. A lot of things happen in Cape Town. It's not the only place in terms of setting, but it's an important place in this novel. Alright, let me walk you through the plot of this novel. The main character being David Laurier, white man, 52 years old, divorced, teaches communication skills at the Cape Technical University. He used to teach modern languages. I think he speaks Italian, he speaks French, he also speaks German. His German gets revealed when we are in his consciousness, and this book is about his consciousness only because he's the only vocalizer. But I'm getting ahead of myself here, sorry guys. Because the university got restructured, the department, like the classics and the modern languages, got shut down. He does not show any interest or enthusiasm in what he's teaching, and this does not go unnoticed by his students, who in turn show no interest and do not participate in his courses actively. He is allowed to offer one course of his choice, and he is offering a course about romantic poets like Wordsworth or Byron, with Byron being like his favorite. He's also working on a chamber opera about Byron in his free time, so to speak. I think it's important to mention that he acts on an impulse, so he's got a lot of desires. He lives it out, right? He does not inhibit his impulses. What happens is he sleeps with one of his students, Melanie, 20 years old, who happens to be coloured. And as I said, he is a white man. Given the history of apartheid, that the white people used to oppress the black people, the white people used to exploit the black people, this is seen as actually an act of oppression, or that he took advantage of his position because he sort of seduced her. But I mean, she of course was not a minor and she did not protest so much, but it is described that she sort of was passive during the act, you know. It gets known at the university because her boyfriend or ex-lover or the person she confides in tells the story at the university. He of course becomes the target of people's interest, the target of gossip, and so his colleagues, so the head of department, they sort of set up a committee, an inquiry committee, and he's invited and he is given a chance to make his case. So the members of that committee want David eventually to apologize publicly, to make a public statement, but he says he is not going to apologize. He pleads guilty of all charges, but there will be no repentance on his side. There will be no breast beating, right? There will be no apology, no public statement, because he thinks that Melanie struck up and fire in him, quote, and he became a servant of Eros, quote. He can't get his head around the fact that he's done something wrong, right? The members of the committee repeatedly give him a chance because they would like to keep him. He's a valued professor at the university. As Rosalind puts it, he comes across as stiff and defensive. In the end, he resigns his position. We're done with Cape Town for the time being. We are moving to the Eastern Cape, which is like the countryside, not far away from Cape Town, if I'm not mistaken. And he goes to pay a visit his daughter Lucy, who lives alone on a farm. She owns a house there. She plants flowers and she also sells them. She keeps kennels where she looks after dogs on a paid basis. And she lives a happy life, and she of course invites him to stay as long as he'd like to stay. But of course he gets bored as time passes, and she says that she could help, for example, with the dogs, so cut up the meat. He also could give a hand to Petrus, and Petrus is a black man, approximately the same age as David. He is Lucy's neighbor. They also share some land. He's got a young wife who is heavily pregnant. He used to help Lucy. He used to be the dog man, but as the novel progresses, we understand that Petrus wants more. As Lucy puts it, he's been dropping hints as to that actually Lucy has got no rights there. She's not protected. It is not safe, and I've already dropped hints. It's not safe. So something happens. They get raided, they get robbed, David's car gets stolen, a lot of household items get stolen, like TV, kitchen items, appliances, and so on and so forth. He gets abused. I'm not going to get into a lot of details because I might give away too much of the plot. He thinks it is not safe for Lucy to stay on there. She's determined to stay on there. He can't understand how he, being an intellectual, a city man, could have sort of produced a daughter who's become a countrywoman, okay? And this contrast, the city and the country, is very much used in this novel. After a break, he returns to Cape Town to find out that his house had been raided. And it wasn't just a burglary. When apartheid fell, what started to happen is the black people thought they can just take the property of the white people without compensation. It's called expropriation without compensation, because the white people had inflicted so much pain on the black people, and they had done so many atrocities with regards to the black people, right? Basically, he gets abandoned. So David is being avoided by his ex-colleagues, by his friends, intelligentsia in Cape Town, so to speak. He's frowned upon by almost everybody, and so of course he sells his house and moves to the country, to the Eastern Cape. I think Grahamstown. He rents a room. So he's working on the chamber opera about Byron. Everything looks so gloomy. Everything looks so bleak. Everything looks so, you know, hopeless. I don't know. The chickens come home to roost. Melanie's boyfriend has paid a visit to David, and this is his thought. Okay, the chickens come home to roost. I think it's about paying revenge or vengeance. His car, parked in the street, is vandalized. The tires are deflated. Harm has been done to this car. The tires are deflated, so you can't drive this car any longer. The locksmith, so the person who is in charge of locks, who is making locks, the point is to get it behind you. Get it over with. Done and dusted. forget about it. Can I have a word with you? Just the two of us. Can I speak to you? You are going through a difficult time, right? Going through. It's like you are living in a difficult time. With immediate effect, Melanie withdraws from the university with immediate effect. You will not get away with it, meaning you've done something wrong. You can't leave the scene of the crime unpunished. You will be prosecuted for what you've done. If I've got hold of the wrong end of the stick, right? So if I've misunderstood it, I have business to attend to. It's a nice way to say that. I'm busy, I can't speak to you right now, I've got business to attend to, speak to you later. Probably not. She's too ignorant of her power. She thought of Melanie as too ignorant of her power, that students do have power, and when they are abused or harassed, they can lay a charge, they can lay a complaint, they can complain, justice will be done, they will get some help. So Melanie's father, when he spoke to David, David still being a professor, he was wearing an ill-fitting suit, basically an overlarge suit that is too big. We want to lay a complaint against one of your professors. And then the lady at the desk says, have you thought it through? Are you sure? Have you thought twice about your decision? Right? The deed is done. So she's laid a complaint against him, and by doing so, she's begun a legal process. Get legal advice. So David is advised to get legal advice because his colleagues think they're trying basically to save him from himself. So, and then they say your legal representative would, blah blah blah, and he says, I don't need representation, I can represent myself perfectly well. Term is nearly over. A term is like a semester, right? Another 2 weeks to get through. You're going through a difficult time. Another 2 weeks to get through, right? To survive. The whole thing is disgraceful from beginning to end. Disgraceful and vulgar, meaning David and Rosaline. It's all very demeaning, she says, the same as disgraceful. She didn't confide in me. She didn't tell me her intimate stories or what's on her heart. Yeah, David is talking about Melanie. Was she in love with you? Did you jilt her? No, neither. Okay, so she asks 2 questions. He says neither, meaning it's a no to each of the questions. Then why this complaint? They were indignant parents. Indignant, enraged, angry. She says, an inglorious end to your career. Disgraceful, demeaning, inglorious. I plead guilty to both charges. Pass sentence and let us get on with our lives. I'm guilty. You have not sought legal advice. Again, seek, sought. Undergo counselling. He is fundamentally opposed to any kind of community service, any kind of counselling, any kind of legal advice. He does not think that he's done anything wrong. That's the problem. So counselling, re-education, reformation of the character, self-criticism, public apology. They wanted a spectacle, breast beating, remorse, tears if possible. So he thinks about what the members of the committee want as a spectacle. He's on the farm and Lucy asks him a couple of questions. So you stood your ground and they stood theirs. You stood up for your principles and they for theirs, he says. More or less. And she says, you shouldn't be so unbending, meaning sort of inflexible. Is there still time to reconsider? No, the sentence is final. No appeal? She's basically asking him, is he going to appeal the decision, to protest the decision? So, as I said, David is the only vocalizer here, and it's interesting how he observes people and makes his judgments. And so when he first meets Lucy, like after what seems like, I don't know, a couple of years. A year has passed and she has put on weight. Her hips and breasts are now, he searches for the best word, ample. A really interesting instance of him being a vocalizer. and judging Bev Shaw by her looks. He has not taken to Bev Shaw, a dumpy, bustling little woman with black freckles, close-cropped, wiry hair and no neck. He does not like women who make no effort to be attractive. Also, when he's sitting on the edge of Lucy's bed, so he sits on the bed, idly fondles her bare foot, a good foot, shapely, good bones, like her mother. A woman in the flower of her years, attractive despite the heaviness, despite the unflattering clothes. He says, letting herself go, meaning she does not care what she looks like. So she does not do her nails, she does not do her hair. Would you accept refuge on an indefinite basis, as long as you want to? So Lucy drives to the market, Petrus stays behind, right? So I like this sort of preposition behind. So he's not coming along, he stays behind me on the farm. A cold mist hangs over the town. This word mist, which has nothing to do, I think, etymologically, with the German mist. Do not mix up those two words. Do you think you could live here, in this part of the world? Asks Lucy, out of the blue, unexpectedly, suddenly, without warning. I'm no longer marketable. The scandal will follow me, stick to me. He can't work as a professor or in such an institution any longer, yeah, because there is a certain stigma attached to him now. But if you want to put a stop to the scandal mongering, shouldn't you be standing up for yourself? Doesn't gossip just multiply if you run away? So stand up for yourself, protect yourself, make a case for yourself. When they visit the house of Bev Shaw and Bill Shaw, the house is just as he had imagined it would be. Rubbishy furniture, a clutter of ornaments. I mean, I use the word rubbish all the time. It's the first time I've come across an adjective. Rubbishy furniture. Love it. A clutter of, one of my all-time favorite verbs in English is declutter, right? And so I could not help but write down a clutter of ornaments. Lucy says, we won't stay. I'm just picking up some medicines, right? So this construction I am just picking up. We've got present progressive, meaning it's the reason why they've stopped by in the first place, right? Bev Shaw, she runs the Animal Welfare League. She's the one who does the job, meaning inserts the needle into the vein of a dog or a cat to put them down. It must be a losing battle, like this phrase, meaning it's hopeless. You can go on fighting against it, but there will be more dogs, right? Which has something to do with their fertility and their instincts and their impulses, and right. She must get despondent, depressed. You think I ought to be teaching myself Russian? I thought it's an interesting example that Russian is mentioned in the first place. Lucy, don't be cross, don't be angry, don't be upset. He's watching soccer on television. Neither team seems interested in winning. Again, normally we've got two teams competing against each other, and neither team, neither the first one nor the second one, seems interested in winning. The commentary alternates between Soho and Thoda, languages of which he understands not a word. And because language plays such a big role here, I mean, he is a professor of communication skills, but he does not know any of the 11 official languages in South Africa, which is mind-blowing. I mean, how he's survived until he's reached his 52nd year. He does speak European languages, but they prove of no use when he's in the country, like in the countryside. But Lucy manages to exchange a couple of words in Xhosa, so she's been making an effort, right? She's been trying to learn the language, to be on the same sort of to interact on a different level with Petrus and his people, to show her being inclined to learn from them, to learn with them. It's not working out, is it? shall I leave? He asks Lucy. We aren't hitting it off together, right? We're not getting on. We're not getting along well with one another. She smiles, lays her book aside, puts her book aside. It takes a while to adjust to the pace of country life, to adjust to adapt, acclimatize. Is that what you think I have done? Run away from the scene of the crime? You have withdrawn, says Lucy. David, you miss the point. Right, again, we've got the point, and she misses the point, right? She misses the point, like the essence. Lucy refers to David as the scapegoat. But before the intruders raid the house, they cross their paths when they are on the walk, out and about, and he says to her, "Shit, we'd be nervous." And she says, "I've never laid eyes on them before. I've never laid eyes," meaning seen them before. The strangers are out of sight. Out of sight. You can see an object in sight, and they were out of sight, right? You couldn't see them. He wanted to keep an eye on the boy, right? Keep an eye on the boy. I think I've made a short video about this phrase, if you want to check it out. Uses a stick to keep the dog at bay. To keep the dog at bay, right? Sort of at a distance, at bay. He's lying face down on cold tiles, right? With his face down on cold tiles. I think in the bathroom. From beginning to end, I fail to understand this construction. I fail to understand. I can't understand. We filed a report because if we did not, the insurance would not pay out. Again, filed a report. We had filed petitions. Like the bickerings of a married couple. The bickerings, so they keep arguing. The sooner, the better. Like a firm phrase. In terms of themes, so we've touched upon many, but security is one of them. Ettinger, I think he is a German who's emigrated to South Africa. His guns, so he's got guns, he's got barbed wire, he's got alarm systems, right? In order to spot a potential intrusion or raid, so he could basically shoot a robber or a raider, right? It shows something, right? So that the black people and the white people aren't getting on. He refers to himself as the stranger, the odd one out. If that spoils their get together, like the party that Petrus is throwing, so be it. I don't care. Koste es was es wolle. In German, something like this. Petrus will take her under his wing. Metaphorically speaking, right? Under his wing, so he will protect her. Lucy owes him a lot, as opposed to she owns a house. Petrus certainly turned a blind eye. Yeah? He chose to pretend, or he chose to believe that it wouldn't happen, something like that. You have to let go of Lucy, yeah? As opposed to let it go. Let it go, right? Let go of Lucy, meaning you can't go on protecting her all the time. Walking fast, trying to tire himself out, sort of to get tired, to tire himself out. He gets jittery, nervous. Petros is using a tractor to which he has coupled the old rotary plough that has lain rusting behind the stable. Has lain, so the past participle of to lie, has lain rusting. It's got rusty, okay, behind the stable where he lives currently with his wife. If I leave the farm now, I will leave defeated, and I will taste that defeat for the rest of my life. Okay, so defeat as opposed to victory, and then defeated, an adjective, not victorious, right? The rays of the sun. A bit sunshine in this novel as well. Lucy's mother was Dutch, okay, and I thought it interesting because we know that the colonists in South Africa were from Holland, right? They were Dutch. After the divorce, she went back to Holland. Later, she remarried. Lucy didn't get on with the new stepfather. She asked to return to South Africa. Then he is confiding in Bevshul, but you were a teacher of the most incidental kind. Teaching was never a vocation for me. Certainly, I never aspired to teach people how to live. I was what used to be called a scholar. I wrote books about dead people. That was where my heart was. I taught only to make a living. Petrus will keep an eye out. So you can keep an eye. Somebody, but you can also keep an eye out. Meaning, being alert. He usually stays late. Okay? Because we also have to stay up late. To not go to bed early, right? He stays up late. He stays late, meaning he works more hours than he's supposed to and leaves work as probably the last person. If you can tell me how to get there, okay, so how to get around from point A to point B, and also how just to get there. So David says, as a result, I resigned my post. I've given up my post. Since then, I have been at a loose end. At a loose end. So he has nothing to do. He has no occupation right now. I thought I would drop in. I would pop by. I would stop by. He is sometimes thinking about the perfective aspect in English. It's like burnt, ed, burnt, t, burnt up. A couple of cases I've spotted, and I thought it's interesting because I'm really interested in the perfective aspect. In self-defense, so defending himself, and being punished for what happened between myself and your daughter, I'm sunk into a state of disgrace from which it will not be easy to lift myself. I'm trying to accept disgrace as my state of being. I live in disgrace. Yeah, he's explaining always. Telling Melanie's father what he's been up to. I think I'll wrap up this video here because I could go on, and I haven't even listed all of the phrases that I've picked whilst reading this novel. I hope it's been helpful. Definitely leave me a comment if you have any questions, suggestions, ideas, and I'll try and incorporate them perhaps. I wish you all well. Stay healthy, stay safe. Всем пока. Tschüss zusammen. Bye guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!